Morning. We'll start the Economic Development Infrastructure Committee at 9:35. Call the roll, please.
Charles.
Present.
Whiteberg.
I am here.
Markham.
Here.
Cabell.
Here.
Spiz is absent with notice. Miller.
Here.
Yeah, quorum.
Thank you. Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That was great.
You set that echo up on purpose.
Right. So now we have the approval of the minutes. Committee meeting dated June 15th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Moved by Commissioner Wiper, seconded by Commissioner Charles. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Now on our agenda, we have a approval of the agenda. Moved by Commissioner Charles, seconded by Commissioner Markham. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. That will bring us to our first public comment. Anybody from the public would like to speak about the agenda items? 3 minutes? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close public comment at this time. Communications, there isn't any communications. We have one consent agenda. It's a road improvement fiscal year 2022 appropriation with the City of Troy for Tri-Party Road Improvement Program project number 56311. Need a motion. Moved by Commissioner Markham, second by Commissioner Markham. Prompted vote. Call the roll, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
Second, Whiteberg.
Wiper, yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry about that, sir. Just having a good morning. I'm trying to roll through.
Yeah, you are.
You have 5 days, 0 days.
Thank you. Motion carries. Now it goes to our regular agenda. First agenda item is the Economic Development, Business Development Resolution approving the Memorandum of Understanding between the County of Oakland and Oakland County Business Finance Corporation.
I'll move it.
Moved by Commissioner Wiper, seconded by Commissioner Charles. On the discussion. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioner. Thanks for having us back on this agenda item. I do have with me today Kevin Congdon, our Senior Loan Officer from the group as well, being my second for the meeting. I came before the Commission back in April. It is a renewal of our Memorandum of Understanding between the County of Oakland and the Oakland County Business Finance Corporation. I'm the administrator for the corporation, and we had this all approved and signed. And between the time that the SBA originally looked at it and the time we got it approved through the Board of Commissioners, my original SBA contact retired. His replacement, when he looked at the document, stated that they do not like to have an automatic 5-year renewal term in there, which it was. So we said, okay, we can remove that and leave it at a straight 5 years. But at that point, we did take it back through Corporation Counsel just so that we could make sure that everything was still good with them. Corporation Counsel, Jody Hall, approved it. And so the document is back here again with that changed term. It's just 5 years, not with the automatic renewal.
All right. Any discussion? Commissioner Wiper, then Commissioner Cavell.
Is that just something federal? They don't like an automatic renewal? They want it looked at every time? Is that?
Yeah, so originally, the first one was ages ago, but the more meaty memorandum of understanding that we undertook in 2017 under SBA recommendation was a 5-year term. Before we engaged in the 2022 one, we did notice that there was a change in the CFR and the SOP, the SBA guidelines, where they removed their previous prohibition on the automatic renewal. So we said, hey, let's put an auto renewal in there, just make it easier rather than coming back every 5 years, unless there was a substantial change. But the SBA did say, even though we kind of removed that regulation, we still prefer to keep it at, let's look at these in 5-year increments.
And overall, we've been handling SBA loans as part of the county for a long time. I mean, it's a good program, right?
Yeah, we've been around, it's 30 or 39 years now that the BFC, we used to be called the LDC, but it was started at the county back 38, 39 years ago.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Cabell?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, not for me because I totally get this, but Catherine, just for other people that might not know, what exactly does the Business Finance Corporation do?
Sure, so the BFC is permitted by SBA to administer their 504 loan program. That is the federal government Small Business Administration, their fixed asset loan program. It's a partnership with a bank or credit union to provide long-term fixed rate financing on fixed asset purchases to small businesses.
Okay.
You have to get an SBA 504 program loan, which is typically 10% down. You do have to use an entity such as ours, which is called a certified development company, certified by the SBA to do the program.
Okay, gotcha. So then
Yeah.
we have one banking partner or multiple banking partners through the BFC? or-
Multiple.
Got it.
Yep, multiple. So everything from your national partners like a Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, Huntington, to locals, which is like Waterford Bank, formerly Clarkston State Bank. Level One just changed over. Kevin might remember who bought.
First Merchants.
Yes, thanks, Kevin. First Merchants Bank, and then also credit unions. So Lake Trust Credit Union and Community Central Credit Union. I think we've done a few with those as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent.
Sure. And I would say too that Kevin or I or our whole group would always be happy to come to a meeting if you'd like to see like a 10-minute PowerPoint, similar to what we go through when we're meeting with banks. I do think the department is looking at doing in the next, well, I think it's at the end of this fiscal year, at the start of next fiscal, an outreach program to lenders, but we would certainly invite the commissioners as well, where we go through not just this program, but the revolving loan fund, I believe, as well, is what we're looking at doing.
You got the floor, yeah.
Well, so since you just mentioned looking at doing a revolving loan fund, what's that?
That actually is already in place. That's not through our group. It's through a different part of business development in a partnership
Oh,
with
yeah.
Seed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but every so often we like to do a nice larger outreach thing. COVID kind of put that more to virtual. So we're hoping to do something, like I said, more likely the start of next fiscal year, maybe the end of this, with a more in-person, fingers crossed, outreach and educational opportunity.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any other discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, prompt the vote.
Yeah, 5 yeas and 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
You too. Next, we have our next agenda item, which is Facilities Planning and Engineering Resolution. Is it ARCGIS? ARCGIS, thank you. Indoor software implementation. I need a motion. Moved by Commissioner Markham, seconded by Commissioner Wiper. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm Jason Warner, Manager of Planning and Engineering with Facilities Management. This resolution is to acquire licensing to expand the county's GIS applications. Oakland County has Esri as a partner. They have the ArcGIS software. So GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. Facilities Planning and Engineering currently uses GIS and several other applications for space management. One of our responsibilities is to track all of the spaces for all county buildings, which is roughly 2 million square feet and 50 buildings. We currently utilize AutoCAD and Excel files to track that. So everything right now is manual. We're trying to convert everything over to the GIS platform and create dashboards that departments can use. This GIS Indoors application is an indoor mapping system, so that will allow us to automate that process. That system will work with AutoCAD, so we can do our edits and our reports in one place, and they'll talk to each other, where right now we have to duplicate efforts within the two software programs. And then also, down the line, we're looking to use this as an indoor mapping solution where we can provide dashboards or applications for county employees and for the public, where they would be able to potentially, if they needed to go to the clerk's office here in the courthouse, they would be able to put that in there, and it would route them through the building and show them where the best parking lot is, where accessible parking is, where the restrooms are, that type of thing. So the initial implementation is $250,000, which includes the licensing, any support, and all support that we need from Oakland County IT. And then it also covers the first 3 years costs, and then annually we're around $20,000 for the license. After 2024, that will be incorporated in the FPE operating budget. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Wiper.
Well, it seems cumbersome what you're doing now. I mean, you have
It
to use a couple different programs to
Yes.
sort all this out.
Yeah, yeah.
And we always think the GIS is outside, mapping infrastructure, and it kind of makes sense that they have a program now for
Yeah.
all indoors.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'll make.
Yeah, it's a very exciting program. I could have provided a presentation, sorry, I didn't, but there are a lot of YouTube videos out there. There's campuses like Michigan State who have already implemented this, and you can take tours around, so.
Commissioner Charles, and then Commissioner Cavell.
Yes, big fan of GIS and automating systems when possible and not depending on PDFs and Excel spreadsheets as a practice. And I'm guessing storage-wise of this information is in a cloud format?
So this will be on county IT servers.
Oh, okay, local servers.
Correct.
And do we have the capacity for this information on a regular basis?
Yes.
Great. And then I think I wanted to pose this through the chair to the finance professional on our committee. Budget amendments, that is pretty par for the course in terms of because it's in bold and it's big and it says yes, so as opposed to appropriation, it says a budget amendment. So I just want to know, what does that imply?
So if you look at the Schedule A, the money was in an IT fund, transfers out $250,000, transferring into the general fund $250,000. And then further out on that, you can see what the next year, the next 3 years are on all of that. So that's what this is doing, is showing that we had the money in IT,
Okay,
but we're moving it to the general fund to execute this.
thank you.
And that's why we needed the budget amendment.
Perfect, thank you.
It's like,
Commissioner Cavell?
forgive my ignorance, but one of the first things you were saying is that this is good to map some of the facilities that we have. Don't we already know, right? We know how big the room is. I mean, not that this isn't good, and I love what you were saying, the second part of being able to help people do an internal map of routing, how they can get from one department to the next. That's great. But I'm just curious, right, we built these buildings, so we know where everything is?
We do, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And we have every floor plan of
Yeah.
every building and every floor currently in AutoCAD. And the way AutoCAD works is our plans are just 2D line work, and we place a poly line around that, which is closed, and then we can get the square foot of each individual room. And that's how it's set up. So every AutoCAD plan has the rooms P-lined, those poly lines, and each department's color-coded on there, and it's broken down by department, division, and unit. And then there's an Excel file that has every room number as well with that square foot
okay.
and the department division.
Gotcha.
So if we were to alter a building, move a wall or a door or
Yeah.
make a room a different size, then we would manually make those changes in AutoCAD, change those P lines. Then we have to go into the Excel file, change the number there, and then there's another Excel file, which is the master budget sheet that we provide to fiscal services annually to, that has every department, division, and unit's space that they occupy.
Got
And
it.
that helps develop the department budget.
Right.
So we're using 3 separate.
Okay.
And then on the flip side with the GIS, we also have our buildings in GIS, so we have to go in and manually edit the GIS information to get that updated. Where with GIS indoors, we can do it all in one location. And right now, if we were to want to, department requests, hey, how many square feet do we occupy in this building? Right now, we have to provide them with a PDF and those Excel sheets. Whereas with the ArcGIS, we can give them access to an application, a cloud-based application that they can pull up on their computer and filter through and see what it is. Another thing that this will allow us to do is to track the assets a little bit better. So there's a lot of back-end data we can put in there. Carpet style, paint, furniture, and we can start tracking the ages of those and help plan for capital and maintenance planning in the future
Awesome.
with replacement
Understood.
costs.
Does this also help then, it sounds like it would help with our recent policy change of allowing departments to let people work remote or in office certain days or out of office certain days? So
Yeah,
that helps.
that's another
Okay.
thing. We can track availability of spaces and which ones are being utilized on a regular basis, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Commissioner Markham.
Excuse me, thank you, Mr. Chair. Is it correct to say that having this updated system will help us as we're looking at reducing our overall footprint across the campus as well in terms of energy usage and buildings that are obsolete or require a great deal of maintenance? This will improve that, or will it affect it at all?
Yeah, I think it will, because we'll be able to better filter which spaces are being utilized and which ones are vacant. So we track all space, even if the space is not assigned to a department. Right now, we have to go through, like I said, those several different files to highlight what spaces are underutilized. But yeah, once everything gets imported in, we'll be able to filter through unoccupied space, and if there's 2,000 square feet in one building, right, in another building, we would be able to look at those holistically to, see about combining and reducing footprints of buildings, yeah.
I'm all about that, so thank you very much.
Any other discussion? I just had a question. So would this help map the conditions of the internal buildings and external, like upgrades, and as well as to add to it, like we have the feasibility study for the sheriff, right? Would that help with that aspect of it in the future?
It can, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's one of the benefits of it is we can add as much data as we want. So, looking into the future, once we have all of the assets mapped within the program, we can filter through ages and conditions. We've started doing that a little bit right now with our GS applications. We know the conditions of our building roofs and the parking lots, and those are all numbered and coded.
Right.
So I can bring up a map and it'll show red all the asphalt on the campus that's, below standard, or a certain grade, but we'll be able to do that with all of the assets within the buildings.
Okay. And then what about any property that the county owns? Would that be added? Would that be able to be added to the system?
It could be, yes.
Thank you. Because I think it'd be very helpful for commissioners if they, if there's open property or property in the area that they know what's county property, what's not. Thank you. Any other discussion? Hear none, prompt the vote, please.
Yeah, 5 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Now we have the next agenda item, which is Water Resource Commissioner Resolution Appropriation of American Rescue Plan Fund Act Local Fiscal Recovery Funds for Securing Our Water Access Initiative. Moved by Commissioner, oh, I'm sorry.
We don't need a motion to bring this one to the table.
Oh, that's right, yeah. We don't need a motion. This one's at the table. So Commissioner Cabell.
Yeah, thanks to Yolanda's leadership last meeting, we already did this, right? The first part of it, which if we all recall, is WRC is going to try and increase enrollment in existing water affordability and access programs for the 12,000 households at risk of water-based foreclosure. So we allocated $240,000 towards that goal at the last board meeting. And so this, we can, what is it, postpone? Is that the phrase?
Postpone indefinitely.
Postpone indefinitely.
So the motion on the table is postponed indefinitely. Need a motion?
No, it was postponed till today.
No.
So now, what I was saying is that since we already did the first part,
Yes.
we could postpone indefinitely, and then when WRC comes back with
Oh.
what they've figured out with the 240, they'll say we either need more money or less money to help with water affordability.
So, what's that? Good.
Is postpone the appropriate thing, or is it table? I just want to make
Postpone.
sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And that doesn't require any discussion, it's just boom, boom?
Yeah, well, Charlie has the motion, to
Okay.
postpone indefinitely, so we need a second.
Okay.
So we need somebody to second it.
Look at you, Robert's rule.
Commissioner Markham, and then now we can talk about discussion if you want.
Okay.
So-
I'm good on discussion.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure I was on board
Oh,
with
for
what
sure.
was happening.
We like it, we like it. So if there's no discussion, we'll prompt the vote on that,
On the postponement.
on the postponement, yes.
Yeah, Yolanda did talk to you this morning when I walked in.
You have 5 yeas, 0
Got it.
nays on the postpone.
All right, motion carries. So it is postponed indefinitely. Thank you. And now we have, just make sure, all right. Now we have Facilities Management, Parks and Recreation, authorization to negotiate the sale of property in Waterford. Moved by Commissioner Weipert, seconded by Commissioner Charles. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, morning.
Hi, Paul.
It's like the Wizard of Oz speaking over your shoulder, right?
A little bit. So I'm going to take the lead on this since I'm here in the room with you guys, but Paul is obviously here to provide any additional information on this item. I want to preface this. I want to preface this by saying that, at Parks and Recreation, we don't take this potential sale of property that's in Parks ownership lightly. So this is something that our Parks Commission is still discussing. And not something that we've necessarily decided on at this point, but something that we want to do some due diligence on and figure out what the best options are for the park system. So the map that I just passed around, it's two-sided. The side that has the image of the house on it shows you all of Waterford Oaks, and then in red is the property that we're talking about today. And then the other side is kind of zoomed in on what that property is. So you may recall we purchased this property, formerly known as the Ernst Greenhouse property, many years ago. It's about in 2009. It was a little over 5 acres. It is obviously attached to Waterford Oaks, which is why it was of interest to us. We've tried a number of things there. We've tried community gardens. We've tried using it for our own growing operations, which ended up not saving us as much money as we thought that it would. We even leased it to a commercial entity, which you'll probably recall, that did not pan out well for us. So at this point, we're kind of debating what the future of that property is for the park system, or if it might make more sense for us to sell that property, since it's right on Scott Lake Road there, and use that money to reinvest in things that we know that we want to do at Waterford Oaks. So we're having a lot of big conversations about Waterford Oaks right now. Everything from splash pads to a new winter feature to a dog park to improving the trails. There's a lot we want to do there. So we want to figure out if the sale of this property makes sense for us and if it will help us further some of those investments that we want to make. So as I said, the Parks Commission hasn't decided yet that that's what they want to do, but we want to do some appraisals, maybe do the wetland delineation, talk to some real estate folks, and get a feel for what we might be able to get in terms of revenue for that property. Then we'd take it back to the Parks Commission and then obviously back to this committee if we were recommending to sell it. So at this point, we're just looking to do that due diligence. Did I miss anything, Paul?
Yes, that's good. And just so the commissioners know that current zoning is public use. It's zoned as a park. So that if the Parks Commission wants to move forward, some of those steps would be how much do we want to just package this and set it up for a builder or developer to do the entire work, or do we want to do that in-house and rezone it, do some type of site plan and then go to the market? So there's a couple different ways to do that. You end up getting more money. The more work you do yourself, the higher the value of, for instance, a retail lot would be. So we just have to consider how they want to do that.
Yeah, and I should mention the map too. You can see the letters on there that correspond to what's going on out there. Actually, the only things that are actually left on the property are the house, which is A, the garage, which is B, and the Ernst barn, which is C, which is currently being deconstructed and moved off site. So the greenhouses are already all gone. So really, it's just the house and the garage that are left at this point.
Any discussion? Commissioner Markham.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm glad you mentioned zoning, Paul, because that's probably my primary concern here. How do we make sure if we let this property go, that what ends up there is consistent with the surrounding area as well as the park? What I would hate to see is, a mall going in there, right?
Yep.
Or, something else that's really inconsistent. I'm sure the local residents would not want to see something that was upzoned to, increase traffic and
Yes.
lights and all the things that come with improving a piece of property.
Yes.
So I just want to put that on the table, that I think zoning, where this piece of property is going to end up, needs to be consistent with what's around it,
Yeah.
or else we shouldn't sell it.
And I think we agree completely. I know Paul's had a couple of initial conversations with the township, and they have a strong interest in some multifamily housing. That's a need for them here in Waterford, so they're very interested in seeing what we can do, potentially working with a developer to get some housing in there. So that would be the direction that we would be leaning.
Yeah, that was going to be my next statement, is I think the local community, the township really needs to be
Yes.
deeply embedded in these conversations as we go along, because, the last thing we want to do is have the county do something with one of our best-known parks that then disrupts the area around it, so.
We agree.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
All right, Commissioner Cavell.
That is really cool to hear. Go Waterford Township, because I was gonna say, I love parks, and I would imagine a lot of people in our district, and I could imagine Waterford would want a park to stay a park unless it was addressing a need like multifamily housing, which, being kitty corner from this high school, I mean.
Yep.
And
with your-
walkable to a
I was
park.
gonna say, yeah, with your backyard, that sounds amazing. Yeah, and with the Housing Trust Fund we just created, this would be great if they were willing to make sure that people could gain access to the community in that way. So that sounds
Okay,
awesome.
yeah.
And the other thing is, the market is good, right? It's residential is hot, prices are high, so if they wanted to do it, this would be a good time.
Well, so then, and also to that then, Paul, what are we allowed to put in as stipulations, right? If we made like an MOU or like deed restrictions, like what Commissioner Markham was saying about
Yep.
zoning?
I think it depends on how we structure it. Paul, do you want to answer that?
Yes, it would be, we'd definitely be working with Waterford Township Planning and zoning, and they've already indicated that in the larger, if we sold the larger parcel, it would be some type of residential, like cluster housing, where it's not attached, but it's detached homes, but fit in an area where you get, enough to accommodate that type of zoning. So they mentioned, for instance, that you could possibly get in 18 to 20 homes.
Homes, and you said multifamily, so are you saying like duplexes, quadplexes? Are you saying single-family homes, like ranch style?
But to me, it's single family. When I say clustered, it just means you can have the homes closer together, but they're separate and separate homes,
Just smaller lot size.
Gotcha.
smaller lots.
I mean, if you're asking for our opinions on stuff, I mean, I would say making this something that would qualify for the Attainable Housing Trust Fund or that development. So if there's 20 properties, making 5 of them reserved for people that make 120% AMI or below, at least.
And that could definitely be part of it.
Yeah. Does Waterford Township zoning allow for, like duplexes or apartments?
It does, but that would be multifamily. So we're not really considering multifamily, we're considering single family.
Why?
That's consistent with what they had told us.
So that's what Waterford would want.
Yes.
Okay.
However, if we get into it and that is an option, we definitely look into that.
Yeah, if we could have our druthers, I would prefer that.
Yeah, I think that's why we're kind of leaning toward, rather than, dividing it up and selling off individual lots, putting out an RFP and,
Yeah.
getting something back that we have a little more control over.
Yeah. Also, I mean, just,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Isn't Waterford the oldest community in Oakland County by like average age? So when we talk about attainable housing or affordable housing, it could also be seniors. So,
Yeah.
if they're willing to go multifamily, having that blended generational kind of housing sounds awesome.
And it backs up to a park.
Yeah, exactly, right? How else, how do we hear back about how this goes from you all?
So that would
We can
be,
give you updates.
Okay,
yeah, we can give you updates, and obviously any recommendations we would make for moving forward with the property would come back for your review and approval.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other
But I mean,
Commissioner Wiper?
It's exploratory now, and
Yes.
it will go to Parks Commission too.
Yes, yep,
Okay.
it would come to Parks Commission, and then it would come here.
And during that process, they talk to Waterford Township, and
Yep.
I thank you.
Any other discussion? I just have bear caution, and I do appreciate Commissioner Cavell and his drive for affordable housing. The one thing I do know is when you sell a property, you can only make sure it's zoned for a certain, but you can't say that it has to be affordable, right? That's it. That's the caution, right? So if somebody buys it, you can't tell them how to do it. That's where you're trying to get at, right? How can we work something out? So we just have to be cautious on that. Oh, Commissioner Charles.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything since our last committee meeting. I mean, I wasn't going to say anything about this, but
Yeah.
since our last committee meeting, I actually got my real estate license, which I'm super
I
excited
saw
about.
that. Congrats.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. And the one thing that, I mean, I feel like it's made me a better elected official overall. I really highly recommend, even if you just do the 40 hours, is that there are tenancy laws, or it's called like tenancy at will or tenancy for life, where the land that this is on, if for some reason, we could put it in there that it reverts back to the county. I mean, there's so many rights and privileges to the owners of the land in terms of if we say no competing X, Y, and Z, and they were to do that, then it would immediately, by law, revert back to our ownership. So I just didn't know those things back when I was on school boards and we were selling buildings, and so I always want to make sure that we write it in. I don't know if it's to the deed or to the title, how that goes, but certainly let's just be vigilant.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And to that note, just to Paul's point, it's a hot market right now, and so we just have to be cautious, because if somebody sees it on there, potentially they're like, well, I'm not going to get that property because we can build anywhere. People, we're buying property. So we just have, like I said, we just have to do it politically correct and try to make sure. It's like negotiations. When you walk away, nobody's happy. It's a good contract, right? Trust me, I know that.
Nobody's happy.
So yeah, I do appreciate that. It does make
could
sense,
make us
right? But it's
all
like right now in a hot market, it seems like it's
gonna be a
the
win-win.
Wild West out there, people buying stuff.
Yes.
So I do appreciate that. And I did have the question of how it will affect the parks. Like, is it, because I don't know Waterford that well.
Yeah.
Is it, does they have a sewer system and city water, or is it septic and well, or?
Paul, I don't actually know. I thought it was city water and sewer.
It's city water and city sewer, and the good news is that the mains are on that side of the road already, so.
That's good, yeah. I just a question, I always, when we have a park, I always like bear caution, because my grandfather said one thing you can never get more of, or make more of is land, right?
Yes, we agree.
So I do appreciate you guys looking into seeing if it makes sense.
Yep.
So that's all I have. Anybody else have any discussion? All right, prompt to vote, please.
You have 5 yeas and 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you so much, and thank you for taking our questions
Absolutely.
and our recommendations.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to our next agenda item. Next agenda item is facility management. Other authorizations to negotiate the purchase of a new property in Troy. Need a motion. Oh,
This is where we're entering into closed session.
yeah, but don't we have to move it and then go closed session to get it on the agenda?
No, we have to move to go to closed session.
First.
Yeah.
I was going to do
Okay.
it.
Right, yep.
I move to go into closed session
All right.
for the purpose of considering the purchase of leased property.
All right, it's been
Lease of
moved.
property.
Need a second, seconded by Commissioner Cavell. Prompt to vote, please. Yeah, we have to shut the on-air off.
Not until the vote's complete.
Oh, okay, all right. Hold that.
You have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. All right.
So awesome.
Charlie, you got the green box.
Probably pretty
Now?
close.
No, but I mean, that's, yeah.
Good looking out.
We are live.
All right. I declare the meeting is back open session, is an open session.
I move that facilities management be authorized to proceed in accordance with the directives discussed in closed session.
I'll support
We
that.
have it's supported by Commissioner Wiper.
Thanks, Phil.
Call the roll, please. Or prompt the vote.
We have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And now, with that being our last agenda, or our closed session, now we have public comment. Anybody from the public would like to speak? You got 3 minutes. Anyone from the public would like to speak? Anyone from the public would like to speak? You got 3 minutes. State your name and community you're from.
Ross Baranco, Novi. Food for thought, if you build 18 to 20 homes on a lot and it reverts back to the park, what is the park going to do with property with 18 to 20 homes on it? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anyone else from the public would like to speak? Last time, anyone from the public would like to speak? Hearing none, we'll call public comment closed at this time. We have other business. Anybody other business? Seeing none, we'll call the Economic Development Infrastructure Committee closed at, 10:37. Thank you.
There you go.
Good.
Record.